Astrology for the Soul, the complete course. We've got 330 people on there, but many more people signed up. So, Soul, if you could kill your video, that'd be great. And we've got more people coming on every second, so let's just hang on a little bit. We're on Facebook. If there's any trouble, you can always go to the New Paradigm Astrology Facebook page. And I'm going to just wait just a tad bit more here for everybody to get on board with us and make sure that everything is cool. We've got the whole dream team on board, ready and waiting. And let me go with the recording. We are recording. Excellent. What's on your mind, Kaypacha? I've got my chat box going on here. Hello, Brave Skull. You can't hear. I hope you can hear. Can you guys hear me? Happy to see your face. Can you hear me now? Ow! Are you guys there? Somebody out there? All right. Okay. Let's get going. We got a lot to cover today. Chat box is going wild, but I'm going to just like really. This is a moment that I have been waiting for all of my life. Wow. You know, I've been doing the Pele Report for over 7 years. I have not missed a week. And it's been quite an experience of very life-changing events. And it has also, I just wanted to bring in the difference between, you know, there may be many of you that listen to the Pele Report, and that is your understanding of astrology. And I just want to say that that is only skimming the surface. The Pele Report is about the transits of what is going on in the collective unconscious and the collective consciousness, like the ocean that the fish are swimming in. And astrology is so much more than that. Astrology is a means of self-inquiry, a means of self-observation that can open up new portals of awareness around your soul purpose, around your identity, around the meaning of your life. It is profound, it is deep, and it's deeper than anything you're going to get on the internet, on your phone apps, on Instagram, on all of these little, you know, little spots of this is going on and that's going on, and your sun sign and the horoscope column in the paper. And I mean, it's just like, there's a lot of astrology out there. And I just want to say that, you know, I've gotten together. Fortunately, I could never do this by myself. I have gotten together with a team of amazing astrologers so that we can put forth a foundational experience. This is not just another astrology course to get certified or learn astrology. We've all been working together. We have a huge workbook that we have put together. And each one of these modules and everything that we're going to be going through has these questions of self-inquiry. This is almost a meditation course. This is almost like a let's look at myself. It's so perfect for Venus going retrograde and doing this inner reflection on who I am and why I'm here. And it's really using your chart to see deeper, deeper, deeper levels of your soul intention for being here. Super powerful. So I want to give each one of these amazing astrologers a few minutes here to just share with you, you know, some of what they are going to be bringing forward in their, it's a 7-week, okay, course, and we've each got a week, and we're each going to be bringing, you know, this very powerful information to you for you to meditate on, dwell on, write upon, explore within yourself. You can do the charts of all your friends and families and just get a great, powerful, deep understanding through astrology, which is the oldest art science on planet Earth. These are ancient, ancient teachings. I cannot stress, you know, enough how powerful this medicine is. So thank you for being here, and I will come back, you know, to wrap things up at the end. But I would like to bring on Maurice Fernandez of the Dream Team. Maurice, are you there? Great.
Hello, everyone, and thank you all for joining. It's wonderful to see such a nice gathering, people from all over the world interested in what Kaypacha was mentioning, this really precious science. And I've been teaching astrology for many years, but the beautiful aspect of this particular training is that we have different voices, and we each are going to contribute a different chapter. So we're beginning on October 25th, which is going to be my first module. And what I am going to speak about is, first of all, the concept of evolutionary astrology. Before we get into the delineations and understanding how a chart works, or what sign and planetary alignments mean, we're going to actually speak about the depth and the difference of evolutionary astrology, which is one of the most sophisticated spiritual astrology. Now, you will probably, or you have already probably come across different perspectives, spiritual perspective in astrology. But there is something very unique to evolutionary astrology, because it's not only about looking at the evolution of the soul, but it's really having a whole system of interpretation that matches. So quite often the question is there such a thing as reincarnation in the first place? If we look at the evolution of the soul, we're not focusing only on one lifetime. How many of us come into this life with a whole set of emotions, of responses, of even knowledge that we did not acquire in this life, or that our parents didn't even know about or speak about? Where does that come from? Why do I have certain inhibitions? How do I know how to play the piano when I'm 3 or 5 years old, when no one in my house is musical? I can tell for myself, and I'm just coming back from a conference about astrology where we met many professional astrologers, and there were quite a few of us who shared how studying astrology was actually a feeling of remembering it rather than studying it. And the way you know is that you naturally resonate, and you naturally can put all the pieces together without much effort, even though it's a very complex system. So some of us are, have a new contract with astrology, and we study, putting the building blocks together And those of us who have already been exposed to it, maybe have been teachers of astrology in a previous life, will immediately resonate and pick things up. And that's just one example to show that life and our life did not begin now in this lifetime. But what we can see in the chart is where the soul is continuing its journey. So if there's a whole spectrum of experiences, if we need to reach enlightenment, what does the chart say about where we were at and where we're going? And that's the beauty of evolutionary astrology. It's a precise system that gives us incredible perspective upon this process. And once you understand that, once you know where you're coming from and where you're going, you are in alignment with your true destiny. And then nothing can stop you, because if you are in alignment with nature, if you are in alignment with a higher purpose, nature and life responds to who you are and what you're here to do, and you can create a more harmonious life for yourself and for others. So the less resistance, the less pain, the less suffering. Nothing is perfect. You know, we all have our blind spots. We're still on the learning curve, but we can certainly diminish the obstacles and the friction and the suffering. So astrology ultimately is a tool that helps us overcome existential pain. When you know why you're here for, or at least gain a perspective on that, things fall into place. Just like our friend back here, in alignment with our course. Now, the important thing is to understand also that as we are looking at the big picture question, you know, why I'm here and where is my soul coming from, this is not just about staying in the upper realm and in the spiritual questions, but it's actually bringing the knowledge down to earth and being able to answer questions such as, you know, when am I going to move, or what's going on in my relationship? So things that are quite practical. In other words, when I look at a chart, and when evolutionary astrologers will look at a chart, they will not only see, you know, oh, you know, you're going to meet a new lover in the next few months, and I can narrow it to a date, but we're also looking at the reasons why things have happened a certain way for you in that particular area. In other words, we can all meet people, but why did we meet that person and not another? And why do we keep repeating certain patterns unconsciously? Sometimes we're not aware of it. You know, we do it, but then the evolutionary astrologer will look at a chart and will say, look, these are some patterns that tend to repeat in your life. And once you identify them, you realize that the meetings, the people you encounter, the experience you go through are not random. That's the beauty. So looking at past life is not just some kind of spiritual adventure or curiosity. It's about truly understanding your present and understanding why things happen the way they do now and how to move forward the best. Now, some of us may say, well, even if we believe in reincarnation, can we use astrology to track reincarnation? How can we verify that we're not making up all kinds of stories? You know, I can see in your chart that you were, you know, some kind of warrior, or that you went through this and that experience. I mean, we can't just like other astrologers, go back to childhood and say, and verify our information. But I've done personally extensive research on reincarnation and using astrology, and I can say that it works and that astrology is a tool to identify past lives. Now, not everybody can do that, and you will see many astrologers attempting to do that. And I would say, from my experience, evolutionary astrology is one of the best tools for that. So it's not about being a psychic. It is about using a system and having the ability to verify that information. The way I personally verify that information is actually looking at the chart of people who have been confirmed reincarnation. So we can look at their previous life chart and their current life chart. And these people were not astrologers. They didn't know that they would have so much in common and that their chart would concur that this is true. The other thing we are going to focus on during my module is look at reincarnation charts, but also look at the different levels of evolution. I'm going to share something with you. I'm going to share my screen for a moment. When we look at a chart, people may be born during the same day. And even from the same family, we can have the birth of twins. And yet, are these twins going to be the same? Are they going to lead exactly the same life? If they have the same chart, shouldn't they have the same destiny? Not necessarily so, because we're looking at the evolutionary level of the soul, which means two people born even side to side on the same hospital will not necessarily have the same life. Even though there will be many parallels, they may be on a different level of evolution, which means their age, their soul age may be different. And you don't see this in the natal chart. So if you look, for example, at the chart of Gandhi, he has a very violent chart. I could say to some, if we go to an extreme, this could be the chart of a rapist, of a murderer. And yet, because this was a very evolved soul, he managed to use that anger and that violence in a constructive way. And he basically, was the image, the person that brought forward the concept of non-violent protest. And he toppled the British regime and liberated India because he had that aggression, but was able to transmute it to a higher level of consciousness. So someone born exactly with him that didn't have that level of consciousness may, perhaps would have ended up that, that more dangerous person. And that's something that we cannot see in the chart. We only can assess what the level of evolution is from the chart, from the meeting of the person alone. So when we are with them in a session, we can determine according to their questions, according to their life choices, where they are at. So in many ways, we can see that, I will refer you to this article. It's on my website. It's called, you go to the article session and just select articles and go to same chart, different soul, the astrology of twins. And I'm bringing up this concept of evolutionary astrology. Now, this was initiated by Dane Rudyard in his book, Astrology of Transformation, where he first, at least as far as I could track and trace, he was the first one to bring this concept forward. And then Jeffrey Green picked up on it and developed it. And then many evolutionary astrologers use that. And evolutionary astrology is the only system I know that incorporate different levels of evolution in the natal chart. Most other systems look at a chart the same way that everybody else's does. So if two people born with the same chart, they would, in that case, you know, have the same life or have the same destiny. I have written a whole chapter on the evolution of the soul and the different levels of consciousness in this book, which those of you who are signing up for the whole course can get for free. So those who are not just signing up for this segment, but for the whole module. So this is a multi-module course, and we encourage you, obviously, to commit to the whole thing, because that's the way to go deeper. But if you are interested in the levels of evolution, the books by Jeffrey Green, or this one, go further into details, or Dane Rudyard, The Astrology of Transformation. And those of you who did not, who already have my book, may have my new book, Neptune, the 12th House and Pisces, as a gift for signing up for the whole course. So a lot to look forward to. And I'm really happy to be on this team and to bring this precious knowledge to you all. Thank you. And I will pass the baton now to my colleague, Julia.
Okay, thank you, Maurice. I'm hoping you guys can see me. Hello. I'm on my phone, so...
You have your fingers in front of your camera.
Ah, that's what it is. All right, I just can't see myself, so hopefully it's all okay. I was wanting to be on my laptop, but I'm on a retreat. So as Maurice just came back from an astrology retreat, so have I. Sorry, I'm on a retreat, an astrology retreat. This is
your hand is on the mic, on the camera.
Oh, sorry. I was just saying I'm on an astrology retreat, so it's not the easiest thing to set up. And I'm glad the internet's working this morning. So I'm actually in the middle of an ancient volcano, very, very, what do you call it? Very suited to Venus in Scorpio. And it's the caldera of an ancient volcano up in northern New South Wales, and it's raining. It's just raining so much. Anyway, we've had to adapt a few things for ourselves and stuff. But so look, wow, you know, I go back when I think about so many questions that people ask me about, you know, what to do to become an astrologer and what's the best way to do that. And the best way is to get good teachers. There's so much out there that, you know, in a sense, I would sort of hate to be trying to put it together these days, because there's so much out there. There's so much out there to perhaps confuse everyone. There's so many voices of astrology. And, you know, yes, that's a good thing. We love that, because we love to see that astrology is growing and, you know, becoming, you know, as I'm in nature here, so many of us feel that it's just part of living. It's part of, you know, our natural lives. It's part of who we are. And as Maurice was saying, you know, it happens here, you know, to all of us as well, that we feel as though we've known astrology before. It's like it's coming back to us, and so at some point in life we just go, you know what, it makes so much sense what, you know, Kaypacha is saying, or what Maurice is saying, or what I read about astrology about myself somehow on the internet. And there comes a point after we've been studying ourselves. I think we're all gone through that. Like, I was doing astrology quite seriously through my own, you know, books at the time. There wasn't, you know, the internet so much, you know, reading up and trying to teach myself, and then got to a point of, you know what, there's missing bits. There's so many missing bits that I need to, you know, formally study. And if you're serious about astrology, where, you know, you're online now for a reason, some of you would be at, you know, many different levels, but if you feel as though there's bits missing, you know, you need to start at the fundamentals. You need to start to, you know, to grasp, you know, from the ground up instead of from up there down, you know, because there'll be missing roots and you won't know how to put them together. So, you know, take this opportunity to join this course with, you know, like 7 fabulous teachers, right? 7 very experienced teachers in the evolutionary astrology realm. You know, you're here because you're focused on the development of astrology in yourself, as an evolutionary aspect of what your soul is here, what your soul intention is here on earth to do. And, you know, we always say, invest in the knowledge, invest your time. If you take on this course, you also need to give the time to, you know, read up, do the workbook that we're going to be providing. You know, there's so much work going in behind the scenes, and that's what you can do with so many people involved to put it together. And I think it's great to have a kind of different teachers as well, you know. So you know, most I mean, unless there's a physical school, this is going to be an online school, and it will probably continue as well. This is just the first year course, and there's much more to go after that, but the first year is fundamental to getting you on the right track, to understanding, you know, how things work. So my part of this great journey, and I'm so, you know, delighted to be part of that, is for this first module, is the astronomy of astrology. So look, you know, we look at our chart, we see a whole bunch of symbols, and many of you would know, you know, what the sign glyph is and what the planet glyphs are. Perhaps, you know, some of you would know what the aspect lines are and all that type of thing. But in this first module, I'm going to orientate you all to understanding what all the circles are and how they interconnect and what they make up in points in our chart as well. Okay, so how the chart turns, which really gives you a lot of insight into, you know, going out into the night sky and just understanding your astrology chart under the stars. Okay, and that's really, really important, I think, and partly missing in a lot of teaching and stuff, as though it's not significant. But Uranus in Taurus, bringing the sky down to earth, we need to understand how it's connected on that sort of physical plane as well, not just in a intelligent or a philosophical sense, but really how the chart is represented in the sky. And part of that representation is, besides the turning and how the wheel turns and continues to turn, is the difference between the zodiacs. And there's 3 zodiacs in the sky that you know, we're all very aware of. It's starting to really pour now. There is the tropical zodiac, which is what we use in evolutionary astrology. There is the sidereal zodiac, which both are out by about 25 degrees, and I'm going to teach you why and how to see that and why it's like that. And then behind the sidereal zodiac are the fixed stars, which are what are the constellations, which we have to decipher differently, as in there's the tropical signs and there's the fixed star constellations. So I'm going to be taking you on that journey so that you can really understand. You look at a chart, you know how it's moving, you know how it's going to move, you know where actually in the end, by the end of this course, you'll know where all the planets will be moving by just looking at the chart. So, you know, bonus stuff from all of us here. And my offering for the course, if you join up for this module, you get a 1-month subscription to the Cosmic Intelligence Agency, which has got a wealth of webinars and teachings from so many astrologers as well that belong to the CIA. And then if you sign up for the whole course, you will get a yearly subscription to the CIA, and that's worth $180 US for the year and $20 per month. So, you know, there's bonuses from all of us here. And, you know, if I was about to start an astrology course right now, I think I'd know what to do. So anyway, I hope to see many of you in the course. And over to, who's up next? Sol, I think. Have a great day, everyone. See ya.
Yes, hello everyone. It's a pleasure for us to come here and share this knowledge, and I'm especially psyched because I've always had a great love for the elements, and I found, I've found in my studies that when I started out studying astrology, I found that having to meditate and explore and get to know the elements was absolutely the most efficient way to get to know astrology, the fundamentals. It's like the astrology ABC. And if you are a practitioner of yoga, you know that you get back over and over again to those simple things, like how you put your hand down into the mat, or how you aligned your foot while you're standing there. And it's just something that you continuously learn more from. And it's the same with the elements. I fell in love with astrology mostly because I was meditating on the elements. I was learning about the different elements. Now, I'm born with a chart where there's no element, I have no planets in fire, well, Neptune, but it's very, it's a different, it's not one of my personal planets, as we like to call them. And what I discovered in my life is that I was very drawn to fire. I was very drawn to fiery people. I was very drawn to that kind of vibe. We're talking energy psychology when we're talking elements. And it also made me realize that whatever I'm missing, I'm looking for. Whatever I'm exploring in my life, I'm trying to find balance. I'm trying to find wholeness. And it is very interesting. A lot of people consider me to be a very fiery person. Sometimes they mistake me for being a Leo or something. But, you know, there's this, maybe because I've learned a lot from fire. So I'm very happy to be the one to share with you fire, which is what we call the first element. In the beginning, there was light. And it's that spark that is life. And without it, nothing makes sense. And I don't think that we can live without that light. It's a deeply spiritual part of our existence, of our experience of being alive. It's a very subtle kind of element because it is moving through us in a way that it makes us radiate. It makes us shine. And it fills us up with what I would call go-go juice. It's that fiery engine that takes us from one part of our journey to the next. And it is that conviction, that intuition, that knowing, that pure knowledge that you just know what you will do with your life, or you just know that this is the right thing to do, or you have that kind of connection with something not exactly rational inside of you, but it makes sense. And today we live in a world where, we're looking for purpose, we're looking for meaning, we're looking for fire. We're looking for that place where we can sit and warm up, and where we can find that courage and meaning to go through all that which seems so challenging. I remember Maurice, I've known Maurice for quite a while, and I think it was Maurice who mentioned, like, if there's one survivor in a plane crash, it has to be somebody who has a lot of Leo in it. And it's that kind of spirit that just comes out of the jungle and says, well, I made it through, and here I am, and I'm showing up in life, and I'm ready to live it, which is the purpose of life, is to live it. Through understanding the elements, both in your charts and especially in the charts of other people that you have around you, you can understand a lot of the challenges that we go through in our everyday connections. If you have a chart that is predominantly water and fire, you might have a little challenge or experience a little, how can you say, a little, well, frustration with people who are the opposite element, who have a lot of the opposite element, like a person who has a lot of air, for instance. And learning how to understand your basic elemental makeup, as I like to call it, will make it so much easier for you to get into the richness of astrology, which is full of details. And just like fire, we are trying to see beyond the details, because we know, as teachers, we've been teaching together for a while, and we know how easy it is to get lost in all the details. It's so easy to get frustrated, just you don't know what these lines mean, or you don't know what these signs mean, and you don't know every little detail. The mind wants to understand everything immediately. But when we start with the basics, when we start with the foundation, so much knowledge will just come to you. It will just arise in you. Maurice mentioned it. It's something that you might just remember. You will start remembering, because we are stardust. We are made out of these elements. And understanding how these elements works in us is that journey to knowing thyself. And knowing thyself is also the path to understanding everything else. That's the road of enlightenment. A person who goes through an enlightenment process goes through that process of becoming aware of everything that lives inside of himself or herself. And in that way, they can get to know everyone else around them. Astrology is an excellent tool to have that come to life, to have a sort of instruction. It's an instruction book. It's how you can see beyond the surface and understand the subtle energies that is going on inside every human being. And you can understand them at such a deep level that compassion is the only choice you have. And it can remove a lot of hostility on earth. We tend to project a lot of our frustrations with the world onto the rest of the world. And I think, you know, that's probably part of why I'm so excited to be working with astrology in this time, is because that's a real proper tool for not just looking yourself in the mirror, but also getting a chance at looking at everyone else at a more neutral perspective without judging. Yes, and in my lesson I will cover the three fire signs, Aries, Leo and Sagittarius, and go deep into all three of them, and also bring out some example charts for you so that you can start learning immediately. I remember when I first started astrology, I just tried to look at as many charts as possible, not trying to understand them necessarily, because I didn't have all the knowledge and I didn't want to overwhelm myself, but I started with what I already knew. Like I already knew a lot about Saturn, so I had a great big study about Saturn, and I didn't complicate things. I tried not to, because that just made me frustrated and feeling like I couldn't get a grip on it, because it is such a huge material, and we have so many different approaches to astrology as well. Especially a lot of you are interested in probably a wide variety of astrology, and you meet a lot of different traditions online. But why I fell in love with the EA was exactly because it made it so easy for me to understand that which I feel is the core of being alive, the core of being a human being. And it is that evolution of the soul. It is that getting to know yourself properly, getting to understand what is my healing journey on this particular planet that I'm sailing on, and what is my gift. And through understanding fire, we get in touch with our spiritual aspect, with what motivates us to get out of bed every morning. And hopefully in this lesson, you will get a chance to not just get to know fire theoretically, but also learn through meditations, what is the nature of fire? How does fire express itself through other people? A lot of people, when they say, oh, you're an astrologer, so guess my sign, they say, you have to guess my star sign now. They put me on this little test. And I'm like, but I'm really not that good. You know, like, it's not like I'm an astrology savant or something, but I get a grip of their element pretty quickly. It's like I can sniff their element pretty quickly. It's like, you got a lot of fire in you, huh? You got a lot of earth in you. You got a lot of water in you. You got a lot of air in you. And that's when it starts to get fun. You know, you start observing the world around you, and you start to see and recognize the elements. So through this basic, which is so much depth, and it has such a great inner unfoldment. Once you start going with it, you get in touch with a rich bank of knowledge about being human. It's like it's just you watching the flower unfold. And us astrologers, we're here to offer, open a door so that you can enter and start seeing for yourself. We share what we found was most useful in our own path to becoming astrologers. So yes, and there's going to be some bonuses. I had to remind myself what that was. I know for sure I will be sharing this Asteroid Goddess workshop with you if you sign up. And for this first segment, and if you sign up for everything, you also get the Evolutionary Course, where I go deep into what Maurice also mentioned, and which is a study you really can't get enough of in my experience, is evolutionary levels. It's so fascinating, and it's really something that I find to be very enriching study for any astrologers, because you really get in deep with the archetypes, the signs, and how they evolve. We're all in this together. And a beautiful Aries soul called Baba Ramdas, he says, we're all just walking each other home. And I found that to be true. So I'm glad to be holding hands with astrology so that I can have that experience of coming to my life purpose. And I know a lot of you who are watching this now, you're looking for the same. You're looking for yourself in astrology. You're looking for that understanding. What is life? Who am I? What am I doing here? Can somebody just please explain? And little by little, you find it. So thank you very much for showing up. It's always a pleasure. And now I will leave the mic to my friend, Christina.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much, Sol. That was so passionate. And I see people in the chat box are really, really loving you sharing part of yourself and really the beauty of what brought you to evolutionary astrology. I know that we all have our own story about what really drew us to this particular little cove of astrology, because astrology is vast. And actually what's great about this course is we will start out with sort of an overview, a panoramic view of the different branches of astrology. I think Julia has that part. And then Maurice will orient us to this tradition, this lineage of evolutionary astrology. And then we'll go in and focus deeply on the elements. And as Sol said, she is going to be doing fire, which really is the ignition of spirit. And what did she call it? The joy juice. And I get to follow with the yin signs, which are the earth signs of Taurus, Virgo, and Capricorn. And I'll go into that in a moment. But the yin signs, the earth signs, get kind of a bad rap because people think they're not spiritual. You know, and we've actually seen how too much earth, too much rigidity in the world can actually lead to a sense of that constriction of spirit. But in fact, the earth signs are what are the conduits for that very spirit to continue in the world. right? When we all think of ourselves as souls having an earthly experience, I mean, we're here on Earth School in order to express that spirit, but that Earth is meant to contain us, and it's meant to help us to mature. You know, I forget who it was, Yogi Bhajan or someone who said that don't think that as soon as you die, you're perfect and, you know, you turned into like a perfect angel and nothing will follow you. In fact, Earth School is the chance for your soul to evolve and for your soul to mature. And this is the work that we're doing here. And to do that, we want to embody the yin. And so when we think about the yin, it is the receptive. It is the vessel. So if the fire is the joy juice, you know, the earth is actually the wine glass that we actually can contain this element of fire. Because when we go from the progression of the zodiac, you see that every fire sign is followed by an earth sign. And so, for instance, with Aries, that's that ignition of being, that's that instinct. And then in order to truly survive, we need to ground that fire, because Taurus actually deals a lot with the survival instinct. You know, it's about our biological survival. It's about our being the generators of our very survival in this world. That's why we tend to think of it having to do with money or finances, but it's even deeper than that. At the very foundations, it has to do with what we value, what has worth, and what we're willing to commit to and put our all into in order to secure ourselves. And so what we'll be doing with this course is not only looking at the gifts of each sign, the evolutionary intention of each sign, also the cultural distortions of each sign, the shadow, but we'll also be doing some embodying exercises. This is why Kaypacha was saying that this is actually like an experience. I don't know, I'm sure they're out there, but I don't know of any other astrology courses that actually take it into the realm of embodiment. I actually do see that that's a lot of things that people are doing more on retreats, and we're starting to understand that the symbols of the planets, while they are profound and they can really help us have an understanding of the mind, of the meaning of our lives and why we're here, it's really important to go into the body and to have that embodied experience. And so we'll be doing kriyas and meditations to help us really get a sensation of these elements in our lives. So with the earth element, we want to really understand it as being that maturity of our soul, that vehicle for which the soul has come here to actually embody the lessons, to learn the lessons and grow from them. I'm seeing a lot of people saying, yay, Scorpio. You know, the funny thing is when we were trying to plan this course, we were first saying, oh, well, we've got to do it after Venus and Scorpio because, you know, or Venus retrograde, because, you know, Venus retrograde, Venus can give us a lot of unexpected challenges when it comes to relating. But you know what? We decided it turned out to be the best time because Venus is having us really look more deeply at ourselves and our desires, and to go deep in that which we love and that which we want to bring forward and birth into the world. And so evolutionary astrology is such a Plutonian experience. It's such a deepening of not only the mind, but also our consciousness. Because at some point we have all asked ourselves, why am I here? You know, and what's the purpose of all of this? And even in, you know, page 1 of Jeffrey Wolf Green's Pluto book, it says, if you've ever asked yourself these questions, then that is what evolutionary astrology can help to unfold for you. Now, ultimately, our consciousness and our growth of consciousness is up to us. But what is really beautiful about this particular lineage of astrology is it puts the soul at the forefront. You know, we can't see consciousness in the chart, right? I mean, like Hitler and Charlie Chaplin had pretty much the same chart. It's similar to what Maurice was saying before about twins. There is something other. There's an essence there. And that is really up to us to sort of complete the gestalt of the soul within that expression. So even though with evolutionary astrology, what we want to do is take it back because it is rooted into the very basics of this ancient tradition of astrology. You know, it might get a bad rap by people thinking, oh, it's so evolved and modern and, you know, has nothing to do with ancient astrology. In fact, it really does. However, it's really honored the fact that human consciousness has evolved and that life is different now than it was 2,500 years ago in some ways. In some ways, human beings are very much the same than they were a couple of thousand years ago. You know, we have desires, we have needs, you know, we have this yearning to be living our potential, right? There isn't any greater like existential agony that I've seen with people and my clients than to have this sense that they're not living their potential, that they're just wasting this experience called life. And so that is what we will gather around, you know, this honoring one another on our own unique paths. And we're all in different places, but this experience of life is actually sacred in itself. And so, as I said, I will be focused on the earth signs. We'll be looking at earth as really the embodiment of the yin, from the Taurus, the evolutionary intention of self-sufficiency and survival, to Virgo, who is concerned with meaning and service in the world, up to Capricorn. And yes, Capricorn is a yin sign, believe it or not. We think of Capricorn as the authority and the patriarchy and what have you. But there's more for us to unfold with Capricorn. It is in fact a yin sign, which means it is an internal orientation. You know, the only way we can make sense of our world and lead from a place of true foundational strength means a strong internal focus. So we'll be looking at all those earth signs. Now, as I said earlier in the chat box, be sure you stay to the end of our webinar because Kaypacha has a special gift that he'll be giving. You must be present to win. And I hope you stay with us. Oh, by the way, for those who join the full course, the complete program, which is 4 modules, I will be giving away a special gift of a guided meditation, a guided past life meditation. You know, it's said that the soul speaks through myth, through metaphor, and through imagination. You know, how else can we access our subconscious but through symbolism and through imagination? We can talk all day about our subconscious drives or that which is holding us back or things like that, or our anxieties, but we don't access what's really deep within us until we open the mind and open our hearts to something greater, even something beyond this lifetime. So for my guided meditation, we'll just do a very simple exercise that can help to open up what is really magnetizing for the soul and what is really essential at this time that your soul may be trying to get you to understand. And sometimes things come through our symptoms, physical symptoms, or just some kind of this nagging or this gnawing sense of dread or discomfort or something like that. And, you know, when we think about, if we believe in multiple lives, there can be plenty of trauma. You know, trauma can only has to last, you know, not very long for it to really impact the soul and the psyche at a deep level. And so oftentimes, you know, we see these struggles from previous lifetimes that can really give us some information and help us to resolve and release that which is burdening us on a soul level, on a subconscious level. Okay, so that's it for now from me. I will be in the chat box and I'd love to try to answer your questions. And really, if you feel the call, I hope you will take the opportunity to join us for this course. This is going to be an amazing, beautiful experience. And I will turn it over to, I believe it's Ari Moshe. Ari Moshe, are you my next?
Nope, me.
Oh, sorry, Tim Halloran. Mwah. Hi, Tim.
Thanks, Christina. My goodness, it is such a pleasure to be connecting with these amazing, talented evolutionary astrologers and to be speaking about something that not only are we all so passionate about, but it's so real. This isn't just a systematic, man-made construct of what life and the world should be about. This is nature. And like Maury said at the front, it is our alignment with nature that really brings us into our soul's potential. And there's so many deep and profound spiritual realizations that comes out of this, but there's also the practical application, which is as we are understanding and studying the elements and the zodiac signs, we are really understanding the very dance, the very fabric, the building blocks of nature. These 12 zodiac signs are the fundamental fabric that, with all of this weaving between these signs, creates everything in our reality. And so even in studying the zodiac and the elements, we can gain more than just a way to interpret the birth chart and a way of understanding our soul's direction throughout life. Of course, this is amazingly useful, but this can have many, many different dimensions of real-world application as well by understanding the function of nature. And so when we're talking about the main elements, there are 4 main elements that make up the zodiac. These are the fundamental building blocks that manifest everything in the creation. And so in my module, you will be learning about the element of air. And I'm going to go in and explain a little bit about what this element is, as well as the 3 air zodiac signs, to get a little taste of what this nature is. And so air is the dimension of the mind. Air is the conceptual overlay that is making sense of all the surrounding information. And there's a lot of information that's coming to us all the time, information that we're conscious of, that we're unconscious of, that's being processed through our brain, through our body, what we're seeing, what we're hearing, all the information coming from our surrounding environment. And so air is the actual phenomena. It's the space, the conceptual space that surrounds all things, as well as the awareness that connects things together, as well as divides all things into comprehensible pieces of information, pieces of data, labels and names that we can break apart and then use in order to communicate, in order to understand, to comprehend our surrounding reality. And so air is what allows for communication and exchange, This is what follows the air and the earth element. Like Soul said, fire is like the go-go juice of life and the universe. It's what initiates our journey. It's what wakes us up in the morning and sets us into motion and gets us going. And then Christina described earth as the wine glass, which I love, this container of embodiment coming into our physical vehicle and our experience here on the physical dimension. And now air is this spaciousness, which is going to really bring in consciousness, which allows us to understand and make sense of our experience as human beings. And so air is what allows for communication and for exchange. And there are many different frequencies out there. There's many different airwaves that we can be tuning into. There are many different dimensions of the mind that we can sort of dial back and forth or in between. And all of these different dimensions, again, there's many different bits and pieces of information coming to us. All of these dimensions, all of this data interacts with one another. And it's our brain that connects this information together, the eyes, the ears, the tongue. And it's amazing, isn't it, how our mouths form sound vibrations that can somehow be understood. I mean, if we really think about it, this is an amazing phenomenon that right now, these sounds are just somehow flowing out of my mouth and they're making sense to you. We're able to assimilate the same ideas. We're able to use this dimension of spaciousness, this mental plane, in order to paint mental pictures. And so our brain assimilates these frequencies together in order to paint this picture. And this is what it means to understand. This is what it means to comprehend something. It means to assimilate the data and the information together, so that way we can understand the meaning of this data, of this information, to be able to draw conclusions, to be able to make educated decisions. Air allows for interaction on more than just a physical or an emotional level. It allows for the interaction of ideas that is happening purely on this dimension of the mind. Air allows us consciousness to think, to be able to recognize, to be aware, draw conclusions, to take all of the parts of something, all the components of something, and change them around, to be able to form new ideas, to be able to form new concepts that can be innovative and groundbreaking and lead to new realizations, as well as new forms of communication and technology. And to basically introduce the 3 air signs, our journey begins with the 3rd sign of the zodiac in air, the sign of Gemini, which is really the first sign of conscious interaction. You know, again, the first 2 elements really deal with our energy and physical survival. Aries is our direction. It's our willpower to initiate. And Taurus is our survival, to be able to provide resources and take care of ourselves. And then it's Gemini when we start to really go out there in the world and interact and go into the villages where there is bartering and there's trading and there's friendships forming and there's technology. And so all of this relies on Gemini, the mind, the written word, the spoken word, communication. And Gemini is the mind. It is the thinker. And Geminis really know how to think, do they not? They can really think themselves up a wall, or think themselves inside of a cage, or think themselves out of a cage. Indeed, the mind is a very powerful tool. And how we use it determines how useful it is to us. The mind can either be our most benevolent friend, or the mind can truly be a most unhelpful enemy. And so Gemini takes the singularity of our experience and divides it through the vehicle of the mind, which functions through duality. For example, when we have a particular feeling, we can say, oh, this feels very warm, or this feels very cold. But the actual feeling sensation is the same. The experience is one of heat. Either there is heat or there's an experience of a lack of heat. And we say that's cold. But really a cold temperature and a hot temperature is on the very same pole. And it is our mind, it is the element of air which divides that pole to say, oh, well, this side of the spectrum is hot. This side of the spectrum is cold. Now, when we move from Gemini into the 2nd air element, which is the zodiac sign of Libra, we take all that we have learned. We take everything that we've experienced, and this is where we develop a sense of taste. We develop a value system. This is what I love. This is what I cherish. And then we share these things with other people. And relationships are absolutely central to our own soul's evolution. We're not here to just survive and, gather food and live in the caves and, create offspring for future generations. We have relationships. We have interactions for the purpose of our own soul's evolution. And so we take the value systems that we've cultivated and we share these things with other people and we bounce these ideas off of others. And that Gemini Libra trine is really where we learn this experience of growth and learning and development through diversity and bouncing our ideas off of others and learning through reflection and submerging into other people's value systems and putting ourselves in their shoes. And so the real evolutionary intention of Libra is to master harmony, of course, to really connect with others in a way that functions peacefully and beautifully and hopefully, cooperatively, collaboratively. And so Libra is where we get to really master group connections. And then we take this a step further when we go into the final air sign, the sign of Aquarius, which we take all of these connections and all of these relationships and we learn to really function as a uniform whole, right? The go-to example for Aquarius is, of course, the internet, that we have all of these different individuals all across the world interested in different things, different hobbies, different passions, and we all get together and we're able to interconnect in this one uniform space, the dimension of the internet, this air dimension, you know. And it's interesting too, you know, Aquarius being called the water bearer. You know, why is Aquarius an air sign and yet it's called the water bearer? Well, Aquarius is like this interconnectivity of everything that almost starts to function like an ocean. We can think of the internet of being like the ocean of our own collective thoughts and ideas and communications and social media and expression, so on and so forth. And so Aquarius is this ocean of consciousness. It is the hive mind that is interconnecting whole groups together. That way we can function as a uniform whole. And Aquarius, the sign of the pioneer, the progressor, the way paver, the rebel, is also about taking these ideas that we've gathered, these labels and these understandings and what we've assimilated and made sense out of in the world, and we push those ideas even further. We test the boundaries. We break the limitations. And so Aquarius is also about taking all of this understanding and pushing it forward, allowing for new realizations, new discoveries, new innovations. And so this Libra-Aquarius trine is really where we learn to improve our standards of harmony and connection and justice and equality. And we say, hey, it can be even better than how we've done justice and equality and relationships and interactions in the past. We can create a new revolutionary standard that's even more improved in being interconnected with nature and functioning together in a harmonious whole. And so I'm very excited to speak more about air in this course, of course, and so happy to have the opportunity to connect with these other astrologers and souls and like minds like yourself. My little giveaway for those who are signing up for the whole, cornucopia is I have a moon workshop, which is really about learning astrology through the direct personal experience and monitoring our own feelings. And then by monitoring the moon, which moves very quickly, and tapping into our own feeling and personal based experience, we can actually learn astrology and the zodiac, not only from a left brain studying and reading and writing and comparing charts and finding the chart of every actor and author and everybody that we're interacting with, which is of course vitally important in this study and this practice. But not only can we approach it this way, we can approach it from real life, because this is nature. Again, we can take our personal experience and then reverse engineer it to look at the astrology and learn astrology through this direct experiential way as well. And so I'm now going to pass the baton over to Ari Moshe, who is going to be talking about the element of water. And thank you very much.
All right. Hey, everyone. Can you see me yet? Yep. So good to be with you all. So in my module, in this first, and I just want to clarify, what we're all speaking about right now is the first module of 4. So there are 4 courses in this entire year program. So in this one, I'm speaking about water. Water is completely intangible. You can't really hold it. You can't really grasp it. The nature of water is completely adaptable, completely mutable. It's the opposite of Earth in astrology, right? Whereas Earth and all the Earth signs are grounding, tangible, practical, something we can physically work with. The very nature of the water element is that which is beyond the physical. So I like to give the analogy of if you're ever in a bathtub and you see a piece of lint floating in the bathtub, if you try to grab that piece of lint, it's going to push it further away, or like a dust falling from the air. You can't really grab the dust, it just pushes it further away. The very nature of water resonates with emotion, devotion, yearning, this interesting thing called identity. Right? Like each one of us have this sense of self. And yet, where do you find that self? Where do you find this construct of identity that we all carry around? And is this construct of identity that you experience the same now as it was 10 years ago? So water is constantly moving and shifting. And when we tune into the water element, we're tuning into what we can call the trinity between the source, right? Consciousness is represented by water in astrology, like the water in all things, unified like the ocean. So consciousness is Pisces. Consciousness itself, awareness itself, reality itself is undefined, unformed, unmanifest. It's not conditioned by the manifestations of itself. It's beyond all of that. It's not defined by anything that we see that comes and goes. And so we begin to find Pisces, which is the last sign in astrology, in a way as encompassing all of the signs. Because reality, source, God, goddess, consciousness, oneness is everything. And the Pisces element within us, we call that mutable water. Because mutable reflects the energy of diffusion. It's everywhere. And when we connect with Pisces within us, it's this part of every single being that deep, deep within knows itself as one with everything. And this is a truth about who we are that we can't escape. We can't make ourselves not one. We can't undo our unity. We can pretend in something else. And that's what Pisces represents. And we go from this larger truth of Pisces, which says we're all one, reconcile with that. There's a greater meaning and truth beyond the seeming separations that we recognize. And we go into, let's take the first water sign, Cancer. Cancer is the most subjective, individualized, personal aspect of the chart. In Cancer, we have the experience of infinity manifesting in a very specific human experience. And so we all know every baby comes into this world completely vulnerable. And what does a baby need? The baby needs to be held. The baby needs to be touched. It needs to be fed. Intrinsic to the experience of infinity incarnating in this way in this lifetime is a very subjective, intimate, personal need for care. And this is true for everyone, whether it's the first few moments of your life, when you're 30 or when you're 60. A part of this entire evolutionary journey through the human experience is learning how to create a sense of home. And so what happens in Cancer, we have emotion, right? You're crying, you're feeling something. You don't maybe intellectually even know what it is that you're feeling. The baby doesn't know why it's crying. In fact, when a soul comes into this world, it's mostly emotion. And then there's like flesh, but it's energy, just pure experience in the present moment with the emotional state. And as we evolve, we become more self-aware, and we develop through Cancer self-intimacy. And this is basically this profound experience of Pisces, oneness, truth, unity, which we all connect to that in its own way, right? Through Pisces, we learn how to surrender. Like, I am not this. You are not just this separate being. We're all one. It's this devotional process with Pisces. And in Cancer, there's very subjective, personal. What does home look like for this separate being, right? How do I create safety? So we learn compassion, we learn empathy, we learn caring, we learn how to nurture ourselves and those around us, how to eat, how to get warm and cozy. And it's cardinal water. Cardinal is directional, it's moving, right? So when you're 7, you might put the teddy bear in the closet. And then when you get out of high school, you might learn how to cook for yourself. And then when you decide to get married, you might start thinking about how can I care for my children and create a safe space for them. So our sense of identity, in a sense, who we think of ourselves to be, what's emotionally important for us, which really defines the way we are setting up shop at this moment in this incarnation. It's an ongoing process. All right, and now we have lastly Scorpio, which is the middle water sign. Scorpio is fixed water. You can think of fixed, anything as centered, grounded, stable. Scorpio speaks about the immutable, eternal soul. The soul is basically what we are before this incarnation and after this incarnation and even during. It's this aspect of self, of infinity, this individualized aspect of oneness that's having this incarnational experience. And the water in Scorpio teaches us to get in touch with the deep, deep emotional power, the depth inside of us that actually brought us into this lifetime. Most of us are not conscious of maybe why we might have these strong emotional attractions or repulsions, or why we may attract certain depth of experience in our life. But Scorpio teaches us that we come into life to have experiences, to marry something, to marry life, to get involved, learn the power that we have inside of ourselves. And then Scorpio teaches us also, we're gonna die. We're gonna leave behind everything and everyone. We learn in Scorpio how to get fully involved and to fully let go. So that ultimately we learn that all of this life, all of these experiences, it's a lesson, it's an evolutionary journey in realizing the power within, because all of this is impermanent. So within Scorpio, we get in touch with our deeper desires, and this can become obsession, passion, strong emotions. We meet them, we marry them, we become intimate with it, so that we can walk the journey that our soul, our essence, that we have on a deep, deep level chosen to experience in this life. So those are the water elements. And I just want to say one thing, all of these teachings, this course, while it's individualized and coming through the life wisdom and the practice that me and my colleagues share, the paradigm of evolutionary astrology brought forth by Jeffrey Wolf Green. And I just want to speak that to give honor and recognition, because many of us have learned from him. And so I just want to give that appreciation for this paradigm that he brought forth, so that we can learn how to use astrology as a map that actually helps us understand on a soul level, why are we here? What's the reasons for this incarnation? Okay, so I'm going to pass it on now to Kaypacha.
Thanks, Ari. And thank you all for being here. And I have the pleasure and the honor to be the last speaker, pulling together everything in this whole module. Maurice is going to be giving us the whole background and approach of evolutionary astrology. Julia is going to bring in the astronomy so you can understand the fundamentals of the chart. Then we have our other four, amazing astrologers bringing in the elements. And these elements then, with the different modalities of cardinal, fixed, and mutable, create the 12 signs of the zodiac. And I'm going to look at how those 12 signs of the zodiac relate to each other. I will be taking it through the whole evolutionary cycle from the beginning to the end of anything and everything, a business, a person, a country, every new impulse goes through an entire evolutionary cycle. I'll be speaking about that. I will be speaking also about how each one of the polarities, Aries to Libra, Taurus to Scorpio, how these balance each other out, how they complement each other, and how they can also battle each other. So, and I will also, I get, this is great. I get to be the icing on the cake, I'll be looking at the compatibility How does fire signs go with water signs, different than earth signs, different than their, I mean, how do we all get along together? And how do these merge and meld in your own unique, you know, evolutionary stage and condition of this life? So that is really going to bring so much of this whole course together. I want to stress again that part of this course is also including a Kundalini yoga Kriya for each element. So we will be doing Kundalini yoga throughout. You will have a workbook where you will be asking yourself questions and moving through each one of these different modules with different teachers. There'll be an online forum where you can be asking questions of the teacher all through the week, you know, and all through the 7-week course. There'll be a group Facebook page where everyone who has joined will be able to be discussing these things in and amongst themselves through the whole course. And, you know, besides the workbook, then we're also going to just, you know, have these question and answer webinars at the end of every module, live, teacher to, you know, so you'll be able to interact with each one of us live, personally, just like we are today, only not quite so many people. There's a lot of you here today. Love it, love it. I hope to see you in the course. So I'm going to share my screen and I want to show you, we've got some special gifts for you today. We're doing it, babe. This is like 24-hour. If you get on it and you get into it now, okay, you know, this is really going to be an opportunity for you. So let me share my screen once. And this is, you know, this is our course. And like I said, you will receive this online videos, an hour and a half every week. You'll get the workbook with exercises, Kundalini Yoga Kriyas, private Facebook group, online forum, live Q&A webinars. I mean, we have really, there's no other course out there like this, is all I can say. And what we want to do is encourage you, you know, to make that jump, make that leap, join us today. And if you do, I'm going to give you, okay, my Kundalini Yoga video, okay, of balancing the bias, and also the guided meditation into the underworld with Venus and Nana, okay, that I'm, you know, that I just posted on Facebook. It's perfect for Venus retrograde. And for those of you that are into Lilith, I am, you know, if you sign up today, you're going to get all about Lilith. This is a whole workshop that I gave and then more. So, you know, if you want to know Lilith, it's great. So today, you know, we're offering for 24 hours this special, you know, giveaway gift and where you can save $80. You can get all of these, you know, by signing up for the first module today. And of course, if you're already a member of the community, you're going to save another $50. So it's like freaking jump on this, you guys. And I feel that there's a number of you who know that this is for you, not just this one module on the elements and on the signs, but we are going to be doing 4 modules. They're each 7 weeks long. It's going to go all through 2019. And it's going to transform your entire life. And if you joined with that today, in these 24 hours, Maurice talked to you about his book. Julia talked to you about membership to the CIA, Cosmic Intelligence Agency. Soul is going to give you her Astro Goddess workbook, Evolutionary Levels workshop. Okay, Christina's going to share with you, you know, this is all, this moon workshop. Ari's coming in with the Beginner's Guide to Evolutionary Astrology and the Holy Nutrients. And Christina, I'm sorry. Well, anyway, I messed up, right? I didn't see who's giving away what, but one way or another, can you believe this? I mean, we are going all out and sharing as much astrology as we possibly can. We seek to inspire you to connect yourself with the stars, which reflect your deepest soul evolutionary intentions for this lifetime, to go on a healing journey within, to understand yourself, your life, your relationships through astrology and yoga and meditation, better and deeper than ever before, to empower you to live the most awesome freaking life that you were meant to freaking live. Freaking sign up for the whole course today, man. I'm swearing you will not regret it. 2019 and this course can change your entire life. What more can I say? Ow, baby! This is just like I said, this is my dream come true. I have wanted to establish a full, solid foundation for people to understand the mystery and the wisdom of astrology. And this is it. This is it. I want to get everybody on here. First, I want to give Daniela a little shot. You know, Daniela is, you know, the Wizard of Oz behind the curtain of New Paradigm Astrology. She's just going to give you, just a little touch of talk about payment plans and things like that. And then we're going to have a grand finale goodbye with the entire NPA staff. So, Daniela, are you there? Shine away.
I'm here. Hi everyone, I'm Daniela. If you're part of the community, you've probably heard from me at some point. I'm usually, like, as you said, the wizard behind the machine. And if you guys are wanting to take advantage of this, definitely jump on it. We make it super easy for you to do it. It's only $150 a month for 10 months. I mean, that's super easy to do for a life-changing course. I mean, I study evolutionary astrology myself, and it has been a major game changer for me, especially for those of you looking to raise your consciousness, to raise your awareness, and to learn more about yourselves and the world around you. So I strongly recommend it. If you guys have any questions, feel free to reach out to me at newparadigm@gmail.com. Again, that's newparadigm@gmail.com, and I'll be happy to answer any questions you have about this in the course. Thank you guys so much. I look forward to seeing you.
All right, I'm just turning on the gallery view. I want everybody to turn on your videos there, Dream Team. Let's freaking go for it. There's Ari, Daniela, Tim, Maurice. You guys can all turn on your microphones, and we're going to give a big namaste aloha.
As usual.
Ready?
Thank you, everyone.
Yeah, but my video won't turn on. I don't know why.
Namaste.
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 Aloha. So much love. Okay, bye-bye, everybody.